Welcome back for another book review. Today we are talking about this one. So this is Empty Cauldrons, Navigating Depression Through Magic and Ritual by Terence P. Ward. First of all, the cover, absolutely stunning. I love this. I think it's a really good cover. Like, it's so aesthetically pleasing. Whoever was in charge of the cover design, A+. So this book discusses depression through a variety of different pagans and their experiences. Now in theory, that sounds so wonderful, doesn't it? I gave this one a 2 out of 5. It was not what I was wanting. So for me, this book really just wasn't that helpful, to be honest. And of course, everyone experiences depression differently. This might be the book for you. Was not for me. So like, I would say like 98% of the exercises is just journaling. So if you've never gone outside of like standard journaling, like you might get some ideas, but I feel like, I don't know, like for me, I've always tried that anyways. So I don't know how you wouldn't have tried that. But then again, I'm an author. I like to write. So maybe that is just a me thing. But I've read other books that have different things for handling depression as a witch, and like even my own thoughts is like, why are we not talking about like food magic? Because like there's certain foods that are known to help with depression, and there's just a lot of options. As a witch, there's different things to do. But the only real exercise there was basically just to journal, which is like just one key part, really. So that kind of got old really fast. Again, for me, that really isn't helpful. For other people, maybe. One of the really big things that I didn't like about this book is just how much medication is pushed. It is you need to go take medication from your doctor to handle your depression. That is great if that works for you. It is not for everybody though. And we need to like remember that, because like they throw out this little like, if you want to, but then continue to constantly push it for several chapters, constantly referencing back saying how great and wonderful drugs are. That's good if that works for you. If doing these different antidepressants, the SSRIs, and I think the other one is like SSRD or something like that. There's another one that are like the two main branches, but like they don't necessarily fix everything. And to be perfectly honest, like they put these medications on such a pedestal that personally I had not had that experience. And I do have a chip on my shoulder about the medications, which like I know it's a me thing, but I know it's also not just me. For instance, when I was on antidepressants for a minute, it took away my ability to like rationalize a lot. Like I had no concept of risks, so I did a lot of things that I normally would not, because that part of the brain completely shut off. Also, just numb all the time, brain fog, you couldn't function. They say it comes back after a while, and I'm like, not always. And also, I am only now starting to, in the past like year or so, start to feel like myself again, even though it's been years since I was on them. Now granted, my medical team was like, you gotta stop it immediately. No cool down period, just cold turkey, which wasn't the greatest option, but like doctors. Big chip on the shoulder. But that is one of the things that is unique to my existence, but nonetheless, just as an FYI, if you have a bleeding problem, like myself, you cannot take these, just FYI. Most doctors, complete idiots on bleeding disorders as a whole. So, coming from the hello, we learn from ourselves because doctors don't know shit. You can't take those, especially if you have more severe cases. It will make you bleed. It put me in the hospital for a week because it made me bleed. And that was the reason why none of the things were working like it was supposed to. It's because of that drug. That's also why I got to go just cold turkey off of it. Because they're like, well, it won't stop till you stop. So, needless to say, I don't like medications. It's the entire way those chemicals are set up for you to ingest all of them. So they are completely off the table. So I can't do them. And so it bothers me when we talk about depression and it is like the cure-all option. It's like, stop. Also, I don't love how he treats like addictions as like these magical spirit things to work with in some way. that you're using like tobacco and alcohol and of course weed as like these things, and it's like probably not the greatest thing to be telling depressed people of like, just honor the spirit of tobacco, like also cancer. That's what's gonna happen. Not every herb that's on this planet is great for humans. That's one of them. I'm not a big fan of weed. If that's your thing, that's cool, I guess. I don't like to be around it. I don't like to be around people who are high. It bothers me a lot. Same with alcohol. So like, I don't know, there's just stuff like that was just like, not my thing. And again, constantly going back to using prescription drugs for it. And I'm like, not that helpful at all. One of the other big things with this book is one of the things that I know is a personal preference. I just don't like it. And it is the thing where an author brings up a little point, and then it's like that like little kid that's like, well, I think this because of, and then lists the people who agree with them to like prove their point, and they can't just stand on their own. And that bothers me a lot. And that is this entire book. It's like kind of an interview with like a bunch of different people, and they just talk about their experience with depression, which is fine. If that's what you need, this is the book for you. That doesn't really help me with my depression because everyone experiences it differently. And like the big thing is like, talk to the suicide hotline, and it's like, you know, they're actually really not that helpful, right? Have you ever talked to them? Because they're like the most useless people ever. Some people have had good experiences. You are the minority. There's huge discussions on like Reddit and TikTok, and I've been included in that it's like, it's literally the most unhelpful people ever. And like, honestly, if you're writing a book on this, I would expect more actual like takeaway things to do, and that wasn't it. It talks about their experiences with depression in specific context, and then that's it. It's like, I think it was like 6 or 8 different authors that contributed in, and then like the main author just like brings up a point and then has everyone else confirm it, and then you move on to the next chapter with journaling. And like, if that's what you need, great. However, I have found better techniques and better things from everywhere but here. This was like the most like generic, like, let's just chat about having depression, guys. And it doesn't actually give any like things for you to realistically do. Now, like I said, depression happens differently for different people. This might be the book for you. It might really resonate, and if it does, that's great. Not every book is going to resonate with everybody. I didn't like it at all based off the reviews. Some people liked it, some people didn't. There are varying reasons why. So going into it, keep in mind, again, the things I've brought up in this video. See if it's going to be something you like. If you can read it from a library, that's what I recommend. And then if you love it, go buy it. That's why the library is so great. Because truly, and if you live in like a small county where you don't have a great library system, I am so sorry. Because like, thankfully, I'm in like, I think probably the biggest county in Utah. So we have a lot, and it's the most diverse of our communities. Maybe Southern Utah has some, because it is a big hotspot for tourism. Not so much here. Salt Lake is not, it's like kind of a touristy spot, but like LDS tourists, not other people. You don't really come to like central Utah-ish, like northern central, for like any other reason, unless you're into skiing. If you're into skiing, you come here, but that's only in the winter months. But anyways, needless to say, it's just, this book, if you can get it from your library, probably a good idea. If you are new to experiencing depression, this might be a good book for you. It'll give you some ideas. If you've never tried to treat it, again, it'll give you some things to consider, but really I didn't feel like it added that much really at all. And like, also there's like random things like creating like a depression altar and different things like that, which is a little step above, that's in like that 2% that wasn't journaling, by the way. I just didn't love any of that. Like, again, if you're wanting books to like really dive into your shadows, this is not it. And for me, I consider depression one of my shadows. It's one that will be there forever, but my depression is like a thing that allows me to see what something is really bothering me. And when I'm depressed, it usually, I can find like a source each time of like, okay, what triggered it? Why, like, what are my habits of like coping with it? Same with anxiety. And so like, for me, like, I handle it very differently than how this book would. Journaling is a great first step if you've never done it, but like, I don't know, some of the things too is like, like, It felt like it was more like mild depression, not necessarily major depression. There is a difference, because like if you can't manage to like get out of bed, you can't brush your teeth, you can't brush your hair, you can eat, like, and if you are eating, like, you might get into like a hoarder situation because you just like, you're overwhelmed and like you can't handle doing the dishes, you can't handle cleaning, like you might not even have the energy to get out of bed, you haven't showered for weeks. Like, depression can get real nasty real fast. And for people who have had severe depression, we've all been there. It's nothing to be ashamed about. But this book is like, well, just like do it. Just like go to your altar every day. I don't care. And it's like, if you're struggling to do the basic hygiene things, you're not gonna have time to go sit at your altar. And they're like, well, if you don't feel like going once, you need to go 3 times a day. And it's like, that doesn't work at all if you're depressed. Don't add more weight onto your shoulders that already feels like you're going to crumble under them. Make it simple. Have the offering, and your way of connecting as like a witch, do it through like your hygiene routine. Like brushing your teeth, you say affirmations so that it's literally on your lips, or like you brush your hair as a way to honor like the divine feminine, and like look out the window and say hello to the sun and the moon. Doesn't need to be complicated. Little steps, and they don't really have those little steps. So again, it's like a very like walk in the door beginner phase for depression. And even then, like, if none of these work for you, you aren't alone. If it works for you, fantastic, but just know that it might not. Honestly, if I was in a very severe depressive episode, this would not be helpful to me, so I assume I'm not alone in this. But again, if it works for you, that is great. So needless to say, I'm not buying this book. I'm happy to take it back to the library. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.